All right, guys, what's up? Will here. I just wanted to bring you something really neat. You just saw my timeline right there. You can skip ahead, back it up. You can jump through. This is Joe Rogan saying the smartest thing that I have heard in 2020, and then kind of the most blind thing, or showing the most media bias.
Collection of Americans' phone records was illegal. And this is the very first sort of mass surveillance program that I and the journalists, really the news was broken back in 2013. So this is a huge victory for privacy rights. What it means is there was this provision of the Patriot Act. Like, remember the Patriot Act? Remember, like, a zillion years ago?
I do.
Everybody was like,
Yeah.
oh, Patriot Act, Patriot Act. Your friend Alex Jones, I think he was worried about the Patriot Act.
It's a terrible name. There's a real problem with that name. Because if you're against the Patriot Act, it's like against babies. It's like this is the Pro-Baby Act, but meanwhile, Pro-Baby Act, they get to look through your email. You know what I mean? It's like the word patriot is attached to that in a very disingenuous way. Like calling that the Patriot Act is it's really creepy that they could do that. It should have like a number, like Bill A1.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Smart.
So you can debate the merits of it. It's just so much propaganda attached to that name, like the Patriot Act.
This is one of the funny things because it should be a warning for anybody who's in, like...
That's just so smart. Joe, that was just so amazing. And then this was just a couple days ago on the 15th. It is the 16th today. And then we have Duncan Trussell in here. He's talking about, they are just beautiful conversation where they're talking about the American dream and the red-blue dichotomy, what we all have in common, flim-flam artists. And then, it's right here at 27. We're going to start. If I can get it.
Intelligent and autonomous enough to do that for ourselves, and then from that, like, really be a United States. And like what's happening now is these motherfuckers are not unifying us.
No.
This is supposed to be the United States of America. That's what it's supposed to be. So if you're in a government official here and you're doing a thing that's making it all divided and fucked up, and you're telling lies and you're shaming people for telling the truth, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Whatever you are is, as far as I'm concerned, anti-American.
Yeah.
Which is like, man, Americans, and fuck anybody who gets mad at me for saying this, Americans are beautiful people. We both tour. We get to meet people all over the fucking place and talk to them, and they're always generally wonderful. Yes, some of them will take your fucking watch. You know what I mean? But still, in general, that you encounter
when things were going well. See, this is the thing
Yeah.
that shifts everything is COVID. The reason why everybody's ramped up, I mean, it's no small feat. It's not just about getting sick. It's about everybody being scared that they're going to lose loved ones, or they're going to die, or they're going to lose lung function. You can't work, so you're worried about your income. There's so many people whose businesses are eroding right before their eyes. I mean, imagine if you own commercial real estate now. Jesus Christ. And you start thinking of the prospect of leasing a building that you invested all your money in out to some folks. They're not going to have offices like that anymore. People are going to do shit from home. There's a lot of people that are actually more productive working from home.
I know.
It's a fucked up time. So everybody's on 8. Everybody's walking around on 8 trying to keep it together.
That's right.
And so a guy like Trump exacerbates it. Because he doesn't ever come out with a unity speech.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always like he's always the strong boss. You're fired. I'm the man.
Yeah.
Sorry, just right there. Joe Rogan saying that Trump has never had a unity speech. That shows the amount of bias. Now, he says a lot of smart things afterwards. Let's listen.
I mean, this is the message, and it works with a lot of people. It's a good look. It's like comedy or music. Not everything works on everybody, but there's a lot of people that vibe with his fucking real cartoonish version of being the boss, right? But it's not a bring everybody together thing. And this is what we need. We need the guy in the movie that stands on top of the hill. The guy that says, we have more in similarity than we do.
See, this is funny because Trump has actually done this. And he's done it just about a month beforehand. And Joe says that he has never done it. He's never had a unity speech. This shows that Joe has never heard the Whirlpool Corporation speech.
That we disagree with.
Yeah, man.
We're together. We're friends. Most people, most of our issues we could work out amicably. We could talk. Most of our issues. The vast
of them.
majority. And we need to not just dwell on those, but embrace those. Like, embrace all the things we like. We want safe schools for our kids. We want safe streets.
Yeah.
We want a fucking bridge maintenance so the bridges don't collapse. We want everybody to be okay.
Yeah, man.
We want no crime.
Yeah.
We don't want unjust prison. We don't want people being unjustly accused and then sentenced to life in jail and other people to work forever to get them. We don't want any of that. We don't want any prosecutors that hide evidence that shows that a person was innocent. That's real today in 2020.
Yeah.
They don't even get in trouble for it.
Yeah, man. It's right. It's true. And I think that maybe this is naive. I think we got to get over our addiction to the person on the hill.
Maybe you need to get over your addiction to the hatred of the person on the hill. But hey, look, what I'm about to show you is part of the media's problem right here. Because they just act like it doesn't exist. And Trump, you get beautiful speech here. He goes through the 7 promises that he already went through. He goes through the problem is going to be the fake news, even talking about this speech. And then the 6 new promises. But remember, Joe Rogan is saying that he's never had a unity speech. Just listen to this.
The promises I made to American workers in 2016, I kept every single one of them. The fake news media back there, they hate to report this. They hate it. Why do they hate it? Because they're fake. Today, to define our path forward, I'm making our incredible workers 6 more promises that I will keep over the next 4 years, and I'm very proud to make them at your plant and in the state of Ohio. First and foremost, we will defeat the China virus. We're working very, very hard. We call it the China virus. We call it the invisible enemy. We call it many different names. It's got many different names, but it's bad, and we've made tremendous strides. We're attacking the virus from every angle, and through this aggressive strategy, we will win the war, and it will happen sooner than people think. We're developing a bounty of therapies such as remdesivir, dexamethasone, antibody treatments. The antibody treatments are really working out well, really well, and many more that have allowed us to reduce mortality by 85% since April. Under Operation Warp Speed, 2 vaccines are already in the final stage of clinical trials, and we'll have a vaccine very soon, I hope long before the end of the year.
And you see, it's funny now, he's talking about how bad it is. How he always has talked about how bad it is. And now they're trying to get him for underplaying it. This is a month ago. This is early August 9th, I believe.
Dramatically increased our domestic production of personal protective equipment, such as N95 respirators, gowns, and gloves. We've got factories now all over the United States making these products. And we've developed the most advanced testing system on earth to produce our most, and this is what we have to do. We have to produce not only cleanliness and perfection in every way, but we have to protect our most vulnerable citizens against this horrible virus. And that's, generally speaking, the elderly, especially the elderly with problems of the heart, problems with the heart, and diabetes in particular. Those 2 are a basic disaster. Our strategy shelters those at highest risk while allowing those at lower risk to get safely back to work and to school. Instead of a never-ending blanket lockdown causing severe long-term public health consequences, we've targeted and looked at data-driven approaches, and that's what we're doing. Again, when you close down, and we had to do it initially because it came and hit us big, hard, and nobody knew what it was, and we saved millions of lives. But today, you just pinpoint it. We know what to do, and we know who to protect. As an example, very young children are incredibly powerful. They're much stronger than all of us when it comes to the immune system. It's an incredible thing to see. But we know who to protect, and we know what to do. And let me tell you, lockdowns have big consequences in terms of drugs, in terms of family, in terms of depression and suicide, in terms of so many other problems that are caused and not good for the kids. And they don't learn the same at a computer as they do when they're in a classroom. So there are big, big problems with lockdowns. But we cannot.
Yeah, look, when's the last time you heard someone talk about all the ancillary deficits, all of the problems that come from lockdown? Trump is the only one talking about this. Media doesn't talk about him talking about this, but they skip this entire speech. Remember that the belief is that there hasn't been a single unity speech at all.
Not defeat the virus by fighting against each other.
Look at that.
And there are a lot of different theories and a lot of different ways. But if you look at some of the results, you'll see some of the states governor run, some of the states that are open and run very smart are doing very well, and in fact better than strong lockdown states. Now is the time to come together as Americans and to unite against the plague inflicted upon us by China. Together we will prevail. My second promise to you is this: we will rise from the current adversity of this horrible, invisible enemy, and we will be more prosperous and resilient than ever before. We've done things that we never knew we could do. We're building factories now. We're building plants. You will see what's going to be happening with the job numbers very soon. We had 2 of the best months ever in the history of our country, and we're going to have...
Excuse me. Look, we're here in Texas. Joe Rogan came here for that CBD. Pardon me. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you highlighting Texas.
Have many, many very, very successful years, unless somebody comes along and destroys it by doubling, tripling, and quadrupling your taxes, and quadrupling something else called regulations. It will be ended. It will be depression time. One of the key lessons we've learned in this battle against the China virus is that the mighty American economy has a fantastic ability to adapt and repurpose its factories.
Yeah.
Today, using the Defense Production Act, which we've used often. Remember, they'd always say, oh, use the Defense Production Act. We've used it a lot, more than some companies would like to know. We're engaged in the most rapid industrial mobilization by far since World War II. Over the last 6 months, we've witnessed one manufacturing miracle after another. We've seen General Motors repurpose an auto parts facility in Kokomo, Indiana, great state, and thereby stand up a ventilator. We have a ventilator factory literally in a matter of days, and we're now producing thousands and thousands of ventilators a week. General Motors has now built and delivered more than 20,000 ventilators. By next week, our strategic national stockpile will be equipped to deploy more than 100,000 ventilators. They're very expensive to build. They're very complex, very, very complex machines, and they're big. And I said that we are now supplying ventilators to many countries of the world. Everybody in our country has it. Not one person, and we had no ventilators. Who knew about ventilators? We had very few. But not one person who needed a ventilator, think of this, who needed a ventilator didn't get it. Every person that needed a ventilator got it. Who would have thought that was possible? And you remember at the very beginning when you first heard about this whole horrible situation with the China virus, ventilators, they weren't around. And now we make them by the thousands.
Now, that's pretty amazing that that stat hasn't been talked about, where he says not a single person who needed one got one. Didn't get one, I mean. They love to prove that he's a liar. We haven't heard that stat. Was it because they didn't want to talk about the speech? They didn't hear the speech? They didn't want to prove him a liar? Or because it's true?
Working with GM and almost a dozen other companies, great companies, my administration has turned America into the ventilator king of the world, the ventilator king. Make them good, and we make them great. They're very good, highest quality. We're now exporting ventilators to friends and allies, and they're really thankful. They're calling, can I have ventilators for our country, sir? How many do you need? Could you send 1,000? I said, it's a lot. The answer is yes. What we're doing is incredible. We're helping we're doing more goodwill with ventilators, because other things you can make, gowns and swabs and things you can make, we're making them too. But ventilators are tough. Ventilators are just one part of our historic manufacturing ramp up. Within 7 days of New York City officials asking for assistance last spring, we helped ship 1 million yards of fabric from North Carolina to New York City for masks and gowns. We're making them all over the place. A great company, Honeywell, has opened up N95 respirator factories in Rhode Island and Arizona in record time. And they're now churning out tens of millions of masks for our strategic national stockpile. These include manufacturing achievements, and these are incredible. They'll be the foundation of an even brighter future for American industry. What we've been able to do in a short period of time is frankly incredible. I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about the people out there. What they've done is incredible, including the military and some of the generals and admirals, the job they've done. My third promise is to build on these gains to turn America into the premier medical manufacturer, pharmacy, and drugstore.
Wait. So was that not enough for you? I mean, he's already given you two pretty... You should listen to the 7 promises that he did before and how much he's helped the country already with those 7. But the 2 that he just gave have been amazing. So the fact that there's more, the fact that there's not been a unifying speech, this is pretty darn unifying. Did you know we're the respirator king of the world? We're the king. There's not a single person who needed it that we didn't have it. Not one. Right, that's pretty amazing, right? Right. Not one.
Of the world. As we've seen in this pandemic, the United States must produce essential equipment, supplies, and pharmaceuticals for ourselves. We cannot rely on China and other nations across the globe that could one day deny us products in a time of need. We can't do it. We have to be smart. And speaking of pharmaceuticals, we instituted 4 moves, rebates, favored nations, and other things, buying from other nations where they have the product, the same exact pill, identical, made in the same factory, for a fraction, just a small fraction of the cost. We buy from other countries as opposed to buying through this ridiculous quagmire of political scam that we've been going through for many years. And what I've done in terms of favored nations, if, as an example, Germany has a pill for 10 cents and we have a bill for $2, we institute favored nations under drug company, we get the pill for the same amount as the lowest pill anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. And that could drop your price of pharmaceuticals, of drugs, prescription drugs, could drop your price 50, 60, 70%, maybe more than that. This is something, now I have to tell you, I have never seen so many bad commercials about me as in the last 3 days since I did this. So will you remember that when you see this horrible commercial that I'm a socialist? I was called a socialist for the first time in my entire life. Actually, what I am doing is I'm using socialist countries who are buying our product for far less than we're allowed to. I'm saying, well, if you're going to sell it to this country, might be socialist, for a lower price, so we're going to get that same price. So, you know, but I have been called everything in the book. And I said the other day, whenever you see a drug company advertising that Donald Trump's a bad guy, remember your drug prices must be coming down very big. Very big. So please remember that. Please remember that, because I don't want to get all those negative votes and then Biden wins and first month he'll say, I dropped drug prices 78%, and he won't even know what the hell he's saying. I don't want to be watching that from some beautiful resort someplace in the world. I could have, I had such a beautiful life.
Hey, Trump's actually pretty funny. Like, Biden wouldn't even know what's going on. Like, come on. if you've been listening to him speak, that's a pretty accurate statement.
Before I did this, but that's okay, because we're doing a great job. And it makes me very happy to see people being properly represented for a change. But during the course of the next 4 years, we will bring our pharmaceutical and medical supply chains home. We're going to bring them home where they belong. And we'll end reliance on China, just like we did with the washers and dryers, just like we did with many other things. We'll be making our product here safely, beautifully, and inexpensively. We're reasserting American economic independence, and I've been doing that from the first day I came into office. To this end, a short time ago, I signed a new executive order to ensure that when it comes to essential medicines, we buy American. The executive order will require that U.S. government agencies purchase all essential medicines that we need from American sources. The executive order will also sweep away unnecessary regulatory barriers to domestic pharmaceutical production and support advanced manufacturing processes that will keep our drug prices low and allow American companies to compete on the world stage. We'll be able to compete on the world stage, but we're now going to have the lowest prices as opposed to by far the highest prices. I have people that I know that go to Canada. They go to Canada to buy drugs, to buy prescription drugs. They go there because the price is so much lower than the United States. And yet it's made by the same company, often in the same plant. It's a disgrace. And the politicians allowed this to happen for many, many decades. You have people called middlemen. I don't know who the middlemen are. I don't know. They never say middle.
This is, look, Trump just attacks the issues pretty head on. Okay? Like, there's a reason why he's being made out to be so horrible. And it's speeches like this. And it's bizarre that Joe Rogan has never heard this speech, period.
Women, so they're politically not correct. But I've heard the term middlemen for a long time. They are so wealthy. They are so wealthy. Nobody has any idea who the hell they are, what they do. They make more money than the drug companies. You know, in all fairness, at least the drug companies have to produce a product. And it has to be a good product. But the middlemen, well, the rebate that I'm doing cuts out the middlemen and it reduces costs, and the money goes back to the people purchasing the drugs. So I have a lot of enemies out there. This may be the last time you'll see me for a while. A lot of very, very rich enemies, but they are not happy with what I'm doing. But I figure we have one chance to do it, and no other president's going to do what I do. No other president would do a favored nations, a rebate, a buy from other nations at much less cost. Nobody. And there are a lot of unhappy people, and they're very rich people, and they're very unhappy. Here's my fourth promise to American workers. Beyond our medical supply chains over the next 4 years, we will onshore millions of new manufacturing jobs across many other critical sectors that are vital to our national security and prosperity, from electronics to machine tools to shipping, aerospace, autos, and of course to iron and to steel. And we'll never forget your washers and your dryers, okay? During 8 years of the last administration. And by the way, I have to just tell you this little story, a couple of little stories, if you don't mind. Do you mind? Okay, because that's better than the other stuff, right? No, I was with somebody and they said, you know, for a dishwasher, we don't have enough water, sir. I think a lot of the people in the audience.
Hey, this is just a little bit of beautiful things about Trump. I mean, they just keep piling it on.
Would understand what I'm saying. They don't have enough water because they put restrictors on, so you don't have any water. And I said, what is that? What is that? In most states, I mean, outside of desert areas, we have so much water we don't know what to do with it, right? A lot of states. Your state does pretty well with water, right? So they have plenty of water. So I passed a regulation, I signed a regulation that give the dishwashers much more water. And I was asking today, and that, by the way, includes your washers. You don't need too much water in your dryers, but it includes your washers. And I was just saying to your brilliant people that are doing such a good job running your company, I said, how much impact has that had? They said, unbelievable. It's been unbelievable. Because I had people saying they'd wash their dishes and they'd press the button 5 times. So in the end, they're probably wasting more water than if they did it once. So do you notice the people that make the machines, you know what I'm talking about? We now have the water that you need instead of stupid where you have much less water than you need and you just keep going over and over again. I had people say they'd press the button 5 times. They didn't have enough water. And the same thing with sinks, toilets, and showers. You go into a new home, you turn on the faucet, no water comes out. You turn on the shower. If you're like me, you can't wash your beautiful hair properly. You waste 20 minutes longer. Please come out, the water, it drips, right? You know what I'm talking? They put restrictors on. I got rid of that, I signed it out. It's common sense. So now when you actually go into a new home and pay a lot of money, you turn on a faucet and water actually comes out. Isn't that nice? That was a regulation that was put in by a lot of people that don't understand life. Because you end up using the same amount of water, you just let it run 3 times longer. It's crazy. And one other thing I did, remember the old light bulb? The old light bulb was so great, and they put it out of business. It was much cheaper, and it had much better light. And you're all good-looking people, but you look better under the old light bulb than that horrible new light bulb, right? Cost you a fraction of the cost. Didn't last as long, but that's okay, but it cost you a fraction. I reinstituted and opened it up so they can sell both. They can sell the new one if you want it, and they can sell the old one. The old one's doing amazing business, amazing business.
Which is great because that opens up manufacturing. Those bulbs are not as polluting as those fluorescent ones.
And you know, the new one is considered hazardous waste.
Oh, yeah, it goes over
When
there.
you lose it, you're supposed to take it down to a dump, a specified dump. How many people are going to do that with a light bulb? Hey, you know, we lost this light bulb. Let's travel 28 miles outside of the city to get rid of it. It's hazardous waste. So I put the old bulb back in, and you can use the new one. You can use anything. I guess it's competition. But I particularly like it because I don't look so orange. So it's very nice.
Come on, Trump. You know?
Very nice.
That's it. That's all you gotta say. It's pretty good.
I don't want to look, I don't like that look. Never liked it. But it's a tremendous thing, and it's having tremendous success. So they'll, you know, scoff and say, oh, who cares about that? Very big stuff. You know, these are big things. A lot of people have come up, thank you, sir. They had sinks that didn't give water. They had showers that didn't give water, the whole thing. And it's been a great thing. It's been very popular. And we might as well tell you about it because people don't talk about it. But these are things that no other president would be doing. No other president, frankly, would be even thinking about. During 8 years of the last administration, America lost 10,000 factories and nearly 200,000 manufacturing jobs. Think of that. In contrast, my administration added over 500,000 manufacturing jobs. It was up to actually 701,000 jobs before the plague came in. And if you remember, President Obama, you need a magic wand. No, you don't. We need manufacturing jobs. He said you won't have any more manufacturing jobs. You need a magic wand. He was wrong about that also. My 5th promise to American workers is to bring back American jobs and factories using every tool at my disposal, including tariffs. I love properly put on tariffs.
I mean, look. Everybody gives him a hard time about the plague and what he's done for COVID, but he's talking, all of his decisions are let's build the United States. We can do this. We can get past this. So exactly what Joe Rogan was talking about this no unity speech. Absolutely wrong. It shows they haven't seen this at all.
Because they bring unfair competitors from foreign countries to do whatever you want them to do. Countervailing duties and new trade deals based on the principle of fairness and reciprocity. And I'll be signing something very important. Watch over the next week. I think you'll be very proud of your president. I'm going to be signing something that's very important over the next probably week. And it'll have a tremendous impact on fairness and trade. As part of this commitment, earlier today I signed a proclamation that defends American industry by reimposing aluminum tariffs on Canada. Canada was taking advantage of us, as usual. And I signed it, and it imposes, because the aluminum business was being decimated by Canada very unfair to our jobs and our great aluminum workers. 7 months ago, my administration agreed to lift those tariffs in return for a promise from the Canadian government that its aluminum industry would not flood our country with exports and kill all our aluminum jobs, which is exactly what they did. Canadian aluminum producers have broken that commitment, and the U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer has advised me that this step to reimpose tariffs is absolutely necessary to defend our aluminum industry. To be a strong nation, America must be a manufacturing nation and not be led by a bunch of fools. That means protecting our national industrial base. We have to protect our great companies and our great workers. My sixth and final promise today is to forever uphold the commitment I made from the beginning. I will always put American workers first, always. They'll always be put first.
Now, look, there's more to the speech, right? He goes over another 17 minutes. You know, there's more to it. He expands upon that, putting the workers first. But look, this is a unity speech. It's hilarious that they don't even understand that it exists. So, guys, this is Will. Remember, that was so beautiful that Joe Rogan has the clarity to be able to say that, look, we shouldn't even be calling this thing the Patriot Act. Let's just have it a generic number, right? So I mean, maybe we should treat it like hurricanes with a name number list or something. I mean, a known name list. But pretty good, Joe. And look, hey, I think you would like this video. So it's pretty obvious you hadn't seen it. You would think that this is a huge part of unity. Take care. Will.